So in case you want to actually go back and just watch the class, we just actually watch the classes, then you can actually, I'm gonna post the class recording on the Blackboard, so you can always watch the class materials after the class. And also, if you, for whatever reason, you missed the class, then you can actually, watch the video. And so I can actually always set up a recording. So please remind me if I forgot to do so. And so that's one thing. Okay, so questions? Please interrupt me anytime. Then we're going to move to the next agenda. That's the Zai book. Okay. So let me actually share the screen again. Okay. So here's the screen. It's my screen. If you actually log in, if you subscribe to Zai book, and after your payment, you will have access to the Zai books, and you're going to see one of the book called the CSC3100 operating system. It's a spring 2021. And now if you click that CSC3100, and you're going to see the book. Okay. You're going to see the book. Okay. So here's the book, table of contents, and here you can see each of the chapter here. So the first chapter is introduction. Just talk about it's give you the overview of the operating system. And so if you click each of the chapter, and then each section gonna actually show up. Okay. Now, if you actually want to actually print a copy of each chapter, then you can just click a print a chapter. And if you don't want to print print on the paper, then you can actually, print it to a PDF file. So you can actually save the PDF file in your laptop, so you can watch the book later. Okay. Now, for each of the section, like a section 1.1, so if you click each of the section, then you can actually read the course material. Okay, this is actually section 1.1. They give you some kind of description for each of the topics and the tables, and then there are some exercises. One of the exercises is called a participation activity. Okay, so after you read the course material, so in the class, I'm going to give you the overview, and also I'm going to answer any questions you might have. So I will tell you how to actually, ask the question, because I want you to read the book, read each of the section. I'm going to actually give you the reading assignments. So say, okay, this week you're going to read this chapter, these sections, and then once you actually complete your read, then please, if you have any questions, please put together this question and ask this question. I hope that you can ask these questions, and you can. I can actually put the in the discussion, the on board this, in the Blackboard, in the discussion, in the forum discussion forum. I want you to post questions on discussion forum. If you have any questions you want me to explain during the class, please post your questions. Okay. So during the class time, I can actually give you the overview, and also I hope that you can actually provide, you can give, provide the questions you have. If you have any questions, issues, and or something you want to discuss in the class, please actually post on the discussions on the Blackboard. Okay. So for each chapter, I'm going to create a topics. So then you can actually post your questions and follow my actually topics of the chapter. Okay. So this is actually the one. And then in the participation activities, they're going to ask you to perform some kind of exercises. Sometimes it's a multiple choice problem. Sometimes it's just animation, so you can watch what happens. So it's very cool. This is something that the typical like a paper book, you know typical paper book doesn't have. So we can take advantages actually the browser. You take advantage of the technology. You can quickly you know perform these exercises. Okay, so this is a topics. You please read the topics and then perform the exercises. In this case, it looks like an animation. So if you click uh, this box says double speed, this is going to speed the things up. But if you don't click, you can also click the start. If you want to speed up, then click this and you can start. Okay, then you can actually click each of the arrow to see this ammunition. So basically, these are the topics the information they try to display, and each time when you click the arrow, you can actually illustrate, explain certain of the concept of the topics. Okay, so participation activity. Sometimes at the end of a section, they also give you another kind of exercises. It's not a participation activity. It's called a challenge activity. So there are some participation activity, basically give you some kind of chance to perform the exercises on the topics you just read. Okay, and then at the end of the section or end of the chapter, you may see some of the activity. Yeah, this is the one. This is a challenge activity. Okay, so the challenge activity is a little more challenging than participation activity because it will ask you to, apply your knowledge, whatever you learned in this section, to this problem. So challenge activity is a little more challenging than you know than the participation activity. So you can actually do this job, and then I actually going to assign some kind of exercises. I think a participating activity, challenge activity will be part of your assignments. Okay, so I'm going to assign you some of the work. Okay, so this is a Zybook. So I'm actually new to the Zybook myself. I only actually just a couple of more weeks, 2 or 3 weeks earlier than you. So we also actually try to dig all the features and everything that the Zybook provides. But I find out it's very useful. It's very actually helpful, you know. So particularly during the COVID-19. So when we have to actually do the class online, teach the class material remotely. So the web-based book gave us a lot of features to to engage us into the course material. Okay, so please make sure you use all this technology, use the textbook. Please actually engage yourself in this. Okay, if you feel like you need help, don't actually turn yourself away from the technology. You will feel lonely. You stay home and you don't get any help because no one gonna come to your home. You're not gonna be able to come to the campus to find any instructor because you know most likely the office spaces are empty. So the office buildings are empty. You may actually find some actually people in there, but you know the campus is virtually empty except for administration people. They're still working on some something. But because most of the classes delivered online, so you don't expect to see instructors on campus. So please actually use the technology, use the email, use the Blackboard, use the actually Google Meet, use all the technology as much as you can to seeking help. Okay, I think that's pretty much all I have for the introduction part, not the course material part, but the overall introduction for this semester. So any questions? Great. Okay, let's get going. So in this, let's actually start the first topics, the section 1.1. Okay, so I actually pull the material off into the Blackboard, into the PowerPoint. So it's basically the PowerPoint basically display the similar materials, in the same material as in the Zybook. However, I use the Blackboard sometimes. You use the PowerPoint sometimes because I can write something. I can put my notes on the PowerPoint. So the Zybook actually provided more detailed information. So the Blackboard gave you some kind of overview of the class material. So you should actually know the difference between these two. Okay. Okay, so let's actually start the class now. I'm gonna actually let's actually stop this. Okay. First, welcome to CSC3100. This is an operating systems class. I'm Brady Chen. And so I hope you still remember that building, right? It's only just 1 year. Um, so as I mentioned that we're going to organize the material into a couple of modules. Module 1, I can actually organize this module 1 into 1A, 1B. Sometimes it's just 1A. There's no 1B. Okay. So the first thing we need to talk about is what is the operating system? Sometimes you try to Google, Google it and try to find out what is the operating system. Now, when you Google it, many times they're not going to provide you the answer. They only actually show if you say, oh, show me the operating system. What is the operating system? And they can actually tell you, hey, Windows 10, Windows 7, iMac, or so iOS, Android, and these are operating system. Yes, true, this is an operating system. But what we want to know is what is the fundamental definition of the operating system. So regardless a specific operating system, just to say what is the operating system in general. Okay. So we're going to talk about the operating system from different perspective. Typically it is easier to tell people what an operating system can do than what is an operating system. It's easier to describe what the operating system can do. Okay. So operating system is a software that used to control the computer hardware. It's a software that used to control the hardware. So many times people could just view operating system as a bridge between the hardware and the users. Okay, it's a bridge between hardware and the user. So here's you and me, and here's a computer system. Okay. So I try to use the computer system, and also there's a probably a printer. Okay, so we can use the printer to print some of the material. Okay. Now, operating, where's the operating system? You cannot see it. It's not actually like a physical object. So you can see, oh, this is like like a cubic. This is round. This is like a ball. Now, what's shape of the operating system? Operating system, you cannot see it. It's a software. So operating system actually is basically plays a bridging role between the hardware and the user again. Okay, so in the middle of this is the operating system. Okay, now so operating system basically has two parts. This part plays like a interface, and this part it's actually some kind of plays like a management to the computer hardware. Okay, so when you actually run different computer software, so for example, you can use the Microsoft Word and run the Microsoft Word on your laptop. Okay, so you need to you need to actually start the software, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. Now, to actually house this software like a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, now you need the operating system to do that. So operating system actually used as the software, the tool to manage the computer hardware. Because when you actually run a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, you need a computer hardware piece, right? You need the memory to store this software. You need a computer CPU to process this software. So operating system actually used to manage all the resources. Okay. So what are the resources? Resources are the computer itself, like a monitor, memory, memory, CPU, your processor, printer, and hard disk, your flash drive. All these are resources. We call the computer resources. Okay. Now you need the resources to run your software. If you actually play the computer game, like if you are a game person, so you want to play the computer game, right? So sometimes you want to play a computer game which requires a lot of graphics, then you need a graphics card. That's also a resources. So now the computer actually can play many different you know tasks, so you can play the game, you can actually learn, write your software, you write your homework on the Microsoft Word. You can actually browse the web, so you can bring up the web browser and surf the web. So you can actually perform various different tasks. Okay. Now, each task requires the resources. Okay. Now, how this resource is going to be managed? Who actually is responsible for managing these resources? That's the operating system. Okay. Okay. So the the operating system is used to bridging the hardware and the users. So it's a basic hardware. The basic hardware of computer system consists of CPU. Sorry. Random main memory, or sometimes we call the RAM, random access memory, and a secondary storage, most likely like a disk. Okay, so typically in the form of disk and the input and output devices. Okay, now the CPU repeats the cycle of fetching and executing low-level machine instructions. So if you're in the computer science, if you have taken the intro to electronics and the digital electronics, you probably know what does that, the cycle means. Okay. So typically, a computer system is actually, the CPU is measured by the clock cycle. Okay. The fast computer has a fast clock cycle. In each cycle, the CPU going to basically fetch the instruction which is stored in the computer memory and execute the instruction. So that's basically what the computer system is going to do. Okay. Now, how does this CPU perform this? It's all managed by the operating system. Okay. Um, so the operating system is going to manage all these resources on this side. Now, on the user side, operating system try to create some kind of interface, mostly user-friendly interface. Okay. So the interface is going to hide the details of the computer hardware. So when people actually access the computer system, they don't directly access the computer device, the hardware. They actually see the interface, a graphic, like most of the PC. People actually see the graphic interface. You see the icons. If you want to run the Microsoft Word, then you just double click the icons, like a Microsoft Word icon. It's like more like an avatar. You double click the icon, and then you can start the computer system. Now, how this actually Microsoft Word was stored in the computer system, it's hidden. They just try to hide these details from the user perspective because user doesn't need to know the details. Okay, so that's basically the idea of the operating system. So on one side, it plays like an interface. On the other side, it's the management software to the computer hardware. Okay. So because of the operating system, so then the user doesn't need to know the ugly side of the computer hardware. So they just actually see the interface, which is kind of pretty. You can, because they create the interface, make you feel like, oh, the computer is so pretty, because you open the picture, you play the videos, you can actually see a lot of good things. But how this video is actually played, it's hidden. The user doesn't, a user doesn't know this, and many times a user doesn't care about this, right? So that's the idea why we need an interface. So most user also don't wish to deal with the internal organizations and the low-level interfaces of disks and other devices. Okay. Now, let me actually tell you the example. So if you try to say, I want to do the homework, I create a document. I create a file and then write my homework on the file. Okay. Now, what do you actually see? You actually in the Microsoft Windows operating system, then you're probably going to see, okay, here's the Window Explorer. I double click the Microsoft Word, the software, and then I type my homework in Microsoft Word, and then I click save and save my document in one of the folder, right? In the folder. And I basically, before I save, I need to put a name for the file. Say, this is actually CSC31 assignment 1. Okay, that's the file name. So I type this file name and I save into a folder. I can probably call the folder like a CSC3100. Okay, so that's my folder, which contains all the files that the CSC31 related. So from user perspective, you see this, okay? So you only see the file and where the file is located in a folder. Now, where's actually the file located?
Somewhere on the disk, but you don't know exactly where.
Somewhere on the disk, okay? Somewhere on disk. But you never actually just open the computer case, say, here's the disk, here's a particular location of my file. You don't know where it's located, right? And you don't care, that kind of ugly part of the work, it's done by the computer operating system. Operating system can actually translate these like a file name, the folders into these physical characteristics. Say, okay, this is the particular disk, and this is the particular actually, track in the disk, and a particular sector in the disk, and this is where my file is located. Okay, that's only known by the operating system, not to the user, and the user doesn't need to care about this. Okay, so that's the purpose function the operating system can perform. Okay, now when we talk about operating system, so we have to talk about a computer system like 70 80 years ago, when the first computer was created in 1940s. Now, at the time when the computer was created, the first, the first real computer was created, was invented in 1940s. I think in the University of Pennsylvania, they created a machine they called a computer. So at the time, the computer was really, really big, and they used the technology called a vacuum tube. The vacuum tube is not the same as the chip we use right now, the integrated circuit we use right now. The vacuum tube is like a light bulb. It's very big, and every time when you turn on the vacuum tube, you're going to create a lot of heat. But they put thousands of vacuum tubes together and create a device called a computer, and they also create some kind of memory. Now, when people actually try to do the computing job, now these people at the time when the first computer was used, there was no operating system. People directly access the memory location by physically moving the switch. So they have a whole bunch of switch. Say, okay, so I want to store this number in this memory location. So it's like a board. The memory is just like a board. So you can actually plug the wires into that particular location. So then you can actually save the data in that particular location. So that was the first computer. It was powerful at the time, but only few people can operate the computer system. So at the time when the computer was first invented, people always view computer scientists like they are extremely smart, but they actually speak something no one can understand. They are nerds. They only speak to the machine using a strange way. But things have changed now. So when operating system is created, people try to create some kind of middleman. So one side they actually deal with the computer hardware, and on the other side they create a very nice and user-friendly interface to the user. So they separate the user and the computer devices. Okay. Okay. So the mismatch between, when I say mismatch, is from one side, it's the user who just want to perform the job. They don't want to touch the computer devices. Okay, they don't want to actually know where my file is saved in the hard disk, right? So this is the user. On the other side, there's in order to perform this, you need actually some sort of a low-level operations. Okay, so that mismatch between the low-level capacity of capability of hardware and the high-level needs of user must be bridged by system software. Okay. Now, these software includes compiler, interpreter, editors, linkers, and the operating system. Okay. We actually learn the compilers when we actually talk about computer language, right? Because the computer language will be executed on the computer system. However, the computer system cannot directly execute the C language, Java language, Python language. These are called high-level language, which basically created for people. So it's easier for people to read this language. However, the computer only actually execute instructions. Okay, you just import some kind of like a binary code, like a 0110. It's called instruction. So it's some kind of a binary pattern, the bit pattern. So you create a different bit pattern, the computer going to perform different operations. So now the compiler, the job for the compiler is to convert this high-level language into these bit patterns called instructions, so that then you can load the instruction into the computer system so the computer system can perform its job. Okay, so these basically require something in the middle. Okay, so operating systems also a kind of like a middleman. Okay, so the operating system is a software that runs on the bare hardware of computer and provide essential support for users to develop and use application in the most efficient and safe manner. Most efficient because the user can just focus on its own task. So for example, when we do the homework, we just focus on our homework. We can actually open the Microsoft Word, we can type our homework assignments, and we save the homework on the computer system. That's all. We don't have to worry about how the homework is going to be saved, right? Which disk the homework is going to be saved. You don't care. Okay. And also the safe manner, because when the user try to control the the computer system, they have to have set up some kind of security things. Some of the actual computer hardware, you don't want every user to access them. So the operating system need to control who gonna actually access which part of the device. Okay. Okay, so that's basically the overview of uh, the operating system and what's the role the operating system going to play in the modern computer system. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all for today. So time is running out, but what I want you to do is, so after the class, after today, I'm going to post our first assignment. Okay, I will post our first assignment, and so please actually read. Please check the Blackboard later today. Okay, and most likely I will post it this evening. And so if you check tomorrow, definitely the assignment's going to be there. So please check the Blackboard for the assignments. So we're going to actually continue to cover the chapter 1 on Thursday. Okay, I think that's pretty much all for today. And yeah, if you have any question or any issues. Okay, so I'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.
See you later.